Boy,
So I
I'm
can
the
do my
map.
buggy.
I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map.
STEM Force DRI, man. We going to view the Atomic Museum. It's good to see y'all. This our last field trip. You feel me? This the finale. We done made it. We done made it through Red Rock. We done made it through the Hoover Dam. Shoot, battle bots. And now we here at the Atomic Museum.
Check us out, G. What? Hey, no trespassing, folks.
I never thought, ever, that I was going to be in the radiation world, ever. But life has a different way of handling things. So when I joined the Navy to see the world, I'll remind you the world is 70% water. Think about that before you join. I ended up on a nuclear-powered ship. So I lived on a nuclear-powered ship for 3.5 years. We traveled through the Orient twice. We were stationed here stateside, so with the Navy I went to Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Busan, Korea, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, several other places. I also ended up in places like Washington State, because of the big shipyards up there. So I'm a gunner's mate. I work on guided missile launching systems. That was my job. We're getting ready to go to sea, first time I ever been to sea, and they have to bring the reactors up so that we can get underway. And when they bring the reactors up, I go walking by the engineering compartments and I hear the reactor is now critical. I panicked. I was about ready to run and jump over the side of the ship and start swimming. And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, wait a minute. The guy just said this in the most calm voice in the whole world. If it was me and it was a problem, I'd be screaming. So I walked down to the berthing compartment where most of the guys who work on the reactor are, and I found somebody awake, and I said, hey, what the hell does it mean when the reactor's critical? And they went, well, it's reached critical mass. Now it's creating enough heat and energy that we make steam, so the reactor is working correctly. I looked at him and I said, could you pick a different term?
Nah, for real. Nah, for real.
Scared the heck out of me. Up and go to college and decide, okay, I'll do something different. I get a degree in geology. I couldn't get a degree in, couldn't get a job. The market went blank. And so the EPA had a program out here working at the test site. And they said, can you read a map? I said, I'm a geologist. Do you mind being out in the middle of nowhere by yourself? I said, I'm a geologist. Are you afraid of radiation? I said, I lived on a nuclear-powered ship for 3.5 years. They said, you're hired. My job was to be out off of the test site when they were blowing up the bombs. If the containment didn't hold and we had a cloud, my job was to evacuate the area the cloud was heading to, go back into the cloud and take readings, so we knew how much radiation was there. We live in a very radioactive world.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of natural radiation out there. You're not trying to destabilize the atom.
Why
The
not?
atom is doing that by itself. As it kicks off the energy, it becomes more and more stable.
Okay.
And then what you get out of that, this is why you can't explain radiation in 5 easy lessons. Because you start out with plutonium. It kicks off the proton and the neutron. It now becomes polonium or something else, and that does whatever it does, and then it becomes something else, and that does what it does, and then it comes down here, and then by the time it comes down here, we call all these daughter products, it's now inert, it's now stable.
Okay.
So when you're cleaning up a radioactive site, you're not trying to stabilize the atoms. What you're trying to do is collect the contamination and dispose of the contamination.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're watching the movies and the guy goes in and he has to come out and he goes through the hotline and that's what, hello. So this is when the person is contaminated and you're trying to look for it. That's what this instrument's called, a frisker, because I would come over and then say, start on the top and come down. When those of us that did this kind of work for a living, when you got to a hotline, you got used to it. You walked up to the spot, you stood like this with your legs apart, stuck your hands out, your head back.
Okay.
And then they would come across the top, check you out, and then they would make you turn your hand around and go across the top again. Why would they not go underneath your arm? Any ideas why they wouldn't go underneath your arm?
Because your arms are usually down when you walk.
So, if I had contamination on the top of my arm, or on the bottom, and I turned my arm over, and they did this, it could fall on here, and now you're going to get false readings off of this.
That makes sense.
You know, really, the fun part about radiation is it's a lot of common sense. Just kind of think about it for a minute and take your time and move forward.
Okay.
What I would like to do, if you guys are up for it, is I do have a couple of sources. So I'd like to take some of those sources out and let you guys actually use the Geiger counters, if that would be okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is what you guys have got, right? What you're going to do, hopefully I don't kill too many things with my fingers. That comes off. If you leave this on, you're not going to. It's going to actually shield a little bit of what you're doing. Over here is a green button. Push and hold the green button. It's going to scream at you, and it'll start up. Now it's starting to read.
Let's see how much radiation comes from these iPhones.
Alright, let's check Miss Ruby's computer.
We used to. Well, that's, yeah.
Dang, boy.
You're actually radioactive.
Your stuff only say 9.
Am I radioactive?
So,
Nah, you not. Yeah, you can kick it, you can stay.
You won't function without potassium. We took all the potassium out of your body.
Miss Adriana, is you radioactive? Let me see your hand. Let me see your hand.
But you can take like a truck of bananas.
Oh no, you got some radio. Oh, it's from that phone. Being on that phone.
Because you're always on that phone.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Take it from my gaming.
You'll be okay, but you're getting
Nah, for real.
small ones if you're getting.
Alright, let me see. Let me see your phone, G. Let me see your phone, G.
Pardon me? It can be.
Boy.
Because if they slow, you just go with
So, what did I tell you? We would practice and practice and practice and practice.
You have running drills?
Running drills. So, what we did was we had
You got that banana.
standard operating.
It's more than the headphones.
These guys won't.
That's crazy.
So because of that, they had fewer accidents than any other place, any other work site. They had fewer accidents, so it was a safer place to work. As goofy as that sounds, because they had fewer accidents, it was a safer place to work.
Wow.
So you guys, when you get down through, we go downstairs and we look around a little bit and you think, well, I could do that. One of the guys out at the Nevada test site, his job was to do a deer study. So what he did was, he went to school and learned how to use a capture gun and a few things like that, and he would set up traps. The idea was he was trapping the deer on the test site. What they were worried about was, how much the deer were migrating. Were they migrating from outside the test site, through the test site, and off again? In which case, were people hunting the deer going to get radioactive deer, which they didn't want? He did that study. It took him a year to do it. He actually trapped the deer. We had to kill a few of the deer. We got the thyroid. We would check the thyroid. We would ash the bones, that kind of stuff. That was a postdoctorate level study, which means somebody who had a PhD is who they would normally hire to do that.
So the deer got into some radiation?
They would drink radioactive water occasionally. There
Damn.
were pools out there at the test site that had radiation in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That gentleman that did the study didn't even graduate from high school.
Wow.
GED. He did a postdoc level study. He did it so well that they had him give a presentation at a wildlife convention.
Okay.
They asked him so many questions that his speech was a half hour long. The question session was 35 minutes long. He came back. He was looking at one of the veterinarians that he was working with going, "Did I screw the study up that bad?" And the vet laughed and said, "No, they couldn't figure out how to do it. You're just an old farm boy that knew he could." And he did it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot out there, folks, that you can accomplish. He was one of my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
This little roly-poly Nebraska farm boy.
Mm-hmm.
Worked out.